Hello, welcome to my new YouTube channel. My name is Simone Tilley. I must apologise first of all for the noise outside. I can't control that, so if you hear anything, please ignore it. Basically, I wanted to tell my story of how I got here, why I'm doing this, and I hope in the process that I can help other people on their journey as well. I'm a natural therapist. I've been in therapies for nearly 20 years. I've studied 8 different techniques of massage, kinesiology, quantum bioenergetics, materia medica in herbal medicine, life alignment, soul realignment, including manifesting blueprint, crystal dreaming, and I also do sound healing and tarot readings. I'm currently studying womb and fertility therapy with a focus on trauma release. In 2016, I went alone on a soul journey to the UK and Europe. I had already begun to be unwell with diagnosis for chronic fatigue, rheumatoid arthritis and lupus before I went. In the UK, I was also diagnosed with Lyme disease, and on arrival in Australia, I found that I also had influenza A, which I caught on the flight between Zurich and Heathrow. Yes, I know that's where I caught it because the guy 2 seats over was really, really ill and coughing non-stop. When I got back to Australia, I was unable to function. I could barely get out of bed. I couldn't retain information for more than 5 minutes. I couldn't read anything or remember having conversations. There was nothing except this constant pain and the effort to try and breathe. Each day was a battle just to exist. I wasn't happy with my situation, the way my life was and my relationships. And I didn't want to be here, basically. I nearly didn't come home from my trip, but I knew my kids needed me. One was at the time in his mid-teens, he's in his late teens now, and the other one was in his late 20s at the time. So I came back. I gave in to the existence I was having. I wasn't living, I was like a zombie. Giving in to illness was comfortable. It was easy, it took no effort, and I didn't have to deal with anything except trying to breathe every day. Eventually, I spiraled into depression. It was a place I had been to before, but swore I would never go to again. And yet here I was allowing it to take over me and my life and overwhelm me. Better the devil, you know what you're dealing with, right? It's easier than getting out of your comfort zone and doing something that's more difficult. This went on for about 8 months. One day I managed to drag myself outside to sit in the sun, and I suddenly heard this booming voice yelling at me. It said, excuse my French, it said, "What the fuck do you think you're doing? You didn't come here to exist. You came here to live a full and juicy life." Talk about a wake-up call. It scared the crap out of me at first. But I recognized the voice. It was the voice of my soul talking to me, or rather, it was yelling at me. I was then shown images of the amazing trip I just had, all the things I had learned, and some of the things that could be if I gave life a chance. It then said, you have a choice. You can curl up and die, or you can get up, take responsibility for yourself, and live. Oh yes, it was much easier to curl up and die, but the images and the feelings that came with them were so enticing, and obviously I chose to live. That day, I've got a script this time. Last time I didn't have a script because I wanted to include more information of my journey and the next part that I'll be talking about. That day, right then and there, I vowed out loud to take responsibility of my health and my life. Around the same time, my dear friend Maya Boston started her YouTube channel with a series on self-love called Monday Morning Love-In. And over 9 months, she did a weekly 30-minute episode on self-love, which included a short meditation. Now, I highly recommend this for everybody. We aren't taught self-love at school. We're not taught in our families. We're not taught at home. We're not taught by society. Self-love is the most important thing that we can do for ourselves. And it's not just boundaries and self-respect. It permeates every aspect of your life. And I'll be saying this again before this talk's over. If you remember, I said that I couldn't focus on anything for more than 5 minutes at a time. So I started with short YouTube videos that were like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, things to build myself up, my spirituality, focus on positive things rather than the negative stuff I was going through. Eventually, that grew to 10 minutes, it grew to 30 minutes, and then an hour. I still struggle with anything over an hour. Hour and a half I can do maybe, but I struggle with 2 hours. So I'm trying to keep these videos really short. So this series on self-love is why I'm here today, and that and reworking my spirituality as if I knew nothing. I did some multidimensional work with Ariella Indigo in the UK, the Stargate Experience Academy, the Heart Math Institute, and a few other people. And it was all done online, and pretty much just about all of it was free. So I am offering these videos for free because everybody needs to start somewhere. And at the moment, a lot of us can't afford to pay a lot of money for things with the COVID lockdown and everything. So a lot of us are struggling financially because some people can't work. Also, up until I got sick, all my knowledge was in my head, it wasn't in my heart. Being sick helped me to understand the heart and soul of the person is who we are. Not how smart we are or what we can do. That can all be taken away. During this time, I was also attempting to read Medical Medium by Anthony William. It was a long, slow process, but I got there. You can only do one sentence at a time. And then it was a paragraph, and then it was a page, and then it was a chapter. But it changed how I thought about my health. And don't forget, I'm a natural therapist. We've been taught everything that the medical doctors and nurses get taught, nutritionists. We learn all the same stuff. But Medical Medium challenged a lot of those ideas that we'd been taught as being settled science. But I did the diet. I'd been on it 2 weeks when I went and had blood tests to see if I had Epstein-Barr virus, because all my diagnoses were symptoms of Epstein-Barr virus according to Medical Medium. And when I did the diet, I was already starting to function better each day. It got a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. So 2 weeks after I started the diet, I had blood tests. The doctor said all my figures for cholesterol, because it can't be Epstein-Barr virus, you can't diagnose yourself. So it's got to be blood sugars, it's got to be your iron levels, it's got to be cholesterol, it's got to be, all the things a person of my age should have wrong with them. And the doctor came back and said, I have never seen such good figures from anybody. But he said, you have Epstein-Barr virus. And he said, you tested positive for another strain that was one molecule off. So that's another strain, that's not a different virus. I believe Ross River virus, which is prevalent here, is also a strain of Epstein-Barr virus. The symptoms are too similar to be anything else. And there's a lot of strains of it, depending on where you are in the world and your diet and everything, and your DNA, how you're made up physiologically and everything. So it was a really long, slow process to get well. It took me 3 years to heal and be fully functional again. Almost 18 months ago, I opened my new natural therapies business, Simone Soul Wings. Here we are today. And to me, yes, it took a long time, but I couldn't get out of bed to do more than have a shower and crash for the rest of the day. To be here and doing what I love is the best thing in the world. So we all have a choice. We can get well, we can look after our health, we can look after our spirituality, which, by the way, I couldn't have gotten well without redoing my spirituality and bringing it into the new energies and reworking it, taking it further, expanding further. It was a very long, difficult process. I made it. I know you can make it if you have similar issues. And I can tell you the journey was well worth it. All the things, people, beliefs, thought processes I let go of were meant to go so I could live my life as I meant to live it. And it's the same for everybody. There are a few things I would like to discuss about depression that I learned on my journey and that some of you will think is very controversial. In fact, a lot of what I'm going to discuss now is controversial. The giving in to the illness had a lot to do with depression and anxiety as well. Trying to leave the house, hey, I could barely walk. And it's not, what I'm going to say is not just my personal experience. Looking back over the last 18 years of being a natural therapist and looking at everything my clients have said to me and how they deal with their anxiety and depression, and then coming down to what the core of it is, I think you'll agree with me that what I'm going to say is true. Having said that, a lot of you might not agree with my findings because you have your own story. Sometimes we need to let go of those stories, as difficult as that is, because it defines who we are as people. And we need to let go of those stories and go deeper and get to the core of why is this happening? Why is this not letting go? I have been working with people for a long time. I have walked by their sides during their journeys through illness and depression, and I have lived through it myself. Everyone's journey is different, and we need to find what works for us as individuals. That's the first point. Diet. There are plenty of studies indicating that processed foods and starchy foods contribute to depression. Starchy foods turn to sugar in the body and can even affect your blood sugar levels. Raw foods are best, or soups. Maybe that's why people are given chicken and vegetable soup when they are not well. You know, the old adage, oh, if you're not well, chicken and vegetable soup. And maybe that's frying and baking kills the nutrients in the food with the high temperatures. Boiling means that you kill the nutrients that goes into the water and you drain it. But with soup, you're drinking the nutrients. Sugars. Diabetics out there will have an argument with me over this. The only sugars the brain and body will absorb are fruit and honey. How do I know this? Because it doesn't show up in a blood test. You will only have processed sugars show up in a blood test because they stay in your bloodstream. They don't get absorbed by the body. And you don't get the sugar high or low after consuming fruit or honey. Even natural sweeteners like cane sugar, maple syrup, agave syrup are highly processed and any goodness is boiled out of them, and they will show up in blood sugar tests. I've seen documentaries on how they make maple syrup and how they make agave syrup, and it's very high temperatures, boiling it over and over to bring the sugars out, the sweetness. This is processing, and those high temperatures also kill all the nutrients, so there's not really any goodness left in them. Now, this is going to challenge a few people. Part of your diet, I'm still recording, sorry. Part of your diet also consists of what you think, watch, read, the words you speak, and what you hear. The most important thing is, how do you speak about yourself? What is your internal dialogue like? Do you swear at yourself? Do you chastise yourself if you drop something or break something? Would you talk to anybody else like that? If you heard somebody talking to a child like that, you know, because they dropped something, oh, you stupid idiot, or you effing idiot, or whatever, would you not consider that to be verbal abuse? So if that's the case, why do you do that to yourself? Why do you think those thoughts to yourself? Everything that we have can be replaced or repaired. It's no big deal. A life can't be replaced. Yeah, so when something gets broken or damaged or spilt, get another one. You know, it's no big deal. Also remember that your cells are listening to every word you say, you think, you hear, you read, and you accept into your consciousness. This has been proven in several studies, and it also has the ability to change your DNA. The fifth point I want to discuss is, when we think about anxiety, what is it really? There are many reasons for it and many phobias with many names, but at its very core, what is it? It's fear. Fear is useful in the sense that it keeps us safe. But when that fear is when it's overactive, that's the word I want. When it's overactive, it starts to control us rather than we're controlling it. And if it controls us, then we are not living our lives to the fullest potential. We can't enjoy life the way we should be enjoying it because we're too afraid. So, what is the fear that is associated with anxiety? The anagram for fear is false expectations appearing real. So in the truest sense, anxiety is a fear of what hasn't happened, but our minds are saying this could happen. But it hasn't happened. So there is nothing really to fear. It is just our overactive thought processes feeding this fear. Now, in kinesiology, it's called deep survival switching in the brain, and that's where your consciousness is having a battle with your subconscious, having a battle with your consciousness for rulership of your brain. And the problem is that the anxiety lies in the subconscious, is creating a very loud voice in your head, but it's all lies. And just because something happened once doesn't mean it'll happen again. It's, you hear these quotes, be present or in the present, be in the now. Stop looking ahead to what might be. So if you're focusing on what you're doing right now, what you're thinking right now, and what's happening right now, you're not so likely to jump ahead so far and then think, oh my God, this is going to happen if I step outside the door or whatever. How about being present to opening the door first? Just watch yourself opening it, the actual act of opening it. Watch your foot step outside and be in the present of just making that movement to step outside and then take another step. Just literally one step at a time. It's like an addict. You take one day at a time, you take 1 hour at a time, you take 1 minute at a time. It's increments until you have the confidence to move ahead fully. So this subconscious is telling you lies to create the anxiety and the fear. And when it starts doing that, you need to redirect your attention to something else. Focus on something else. Distract yourself. Think about something else or look at something, and sometimes focusing on your breathing helps. Just breathing. Just feel the in-breath. Feel it going through your lungs. Feel it going through the heart. Feel it going through your body. Just breathe and focus on the breathing. Sometimes that's what it takes just to be able to function. Don't allow the negative voice to take up your time and your energy. If you wish, you can say out loud, I hear you, but I'm not listening to you. Also, there are studies that have been done that say that if you say something in a silly voice, that your brain doesn't take it seriously. But find what works for you. And if you don't try, you never know. Yeah? So everybody's journey is different. You just have to find what works for you. What I'm suggesting here is what's worked for me and what's worked for a lot of my clients actually. What I'm doing here is consolidating it into one format that's easy to do, easy to follow. You can watch this video over and over again. The 6th point is depression. Again, what I'm going to say here could be controversial. Acknowledging these steps I'm outlining is the first step to healing. Meds like antidepressants don't work for everybody. In fact, I know very few people that they actually work for. What meds do is they stop you feeling and they keep you in a place, in a sort of stasis. Or a lot of people say that they feel numb, they don't feel anything. Life is about feeling. Life is about touch. It's about emotions. And what do you get out of that? If you are walking around like a zombie, you're not living your life. You're not getting the full experience of life. It's like being a robot. And then when you're in that stasis, you can't move forward. You're just stuck in this spot. You can't grow as a person and try to overcome the issue that started the process in the first place. Clients have also told me that they find there is often no difference between when they take the meds and when they don't. They still have up and down days either way. Another topic we need to discuss is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of people who are diagnosed with depression actually have PTSD through trauma or long-term stress. This is something that also needs to be addressed separately, and Medical Medium by Anthony William has a whole chapter devoted to PTSD, what foods, nutrients, herbs, and supplements can support you physically and mentally during this healing process. So what is depression? Again, there are many reasons for it, many names, many ways of treating it, sometimes with greater or lesser success depending on the person's needs. But what is at its core? If you think about it and go really deep, you'll find it's not just fear, though that's a really big part of it. At the core of depression is you. You are the core of your depression. You are not listening to your soul. You are listening to and believing the lies that someone else has told you. Lies that usually stem in childhood in some way, or things that if you have felt about yourself that were lies and someone has exploited them in your teens or even as an adult. Lies like, you're not good enough, you're useless, you'll never amount to anything, you're worthless, you don't deserve better. Your soul knows these lies, even if you don't recognize them as such. And so there you have depression. I bet you have spent many hours crying over hurtful comments like these, which show that your soul recognizes these as lies, and deep down, so do you. If it was the truth, it wouldn't affect you so deeply. That was really big. That's something that pretty much everybody struggles with. And this is why the internal dialogue, the self-talk, is so important. We also need to ask ourselves, why does this person have power over me and more authority over me than I do? Why does their opinion matter more than mine? This person has never walked in your shoes, has never lived your life. So what makes them the expert over your life? I can tell you right now, they're not. They don't have a say in your life. This is your life. You know what's right for you. Even talking to doctors, talking to anybody, talking to a parent or a sibling, a partner, you know you better than anybody knows you. You know what you need if you stopped and listened. You know what your body needs. You know what you need. Don't try and follow society. Don't try and follow the trend. It doesn't work for you because you're unique. And I bet you anything it doesn't work for them either. Usually we allow these people to have this control over us because we love them or we respect them. And we think that they're experts, like doctors or even natural therapists. Does their treatment of you and their disrespect for you show that they love you or consider you as important to them as they are to you? That's a really good question. It could be the hardest thing you will ever do, but it could save your life. People who put other people down or treat them badly do so because they can see you have strength, and that threatens them. If you summon the strength to walk away, nothing can stop you, and you will finally see that these people have no power over you. And that is what they are afraid of. There are other ways we can give our power over to people. I have permission to share this story from my client. It happened very recently. She told me this. She's a brilliant artist and screenwriter. She was told by someone in the industry that she was a crap artist and to stick to her writing, though he had never read any of her work, and that she would never be any good in her art and it would never be displayed. This attitude had already been told to her by her family. And it just shows that everybody's got different taste in art, in music, in everything, because we're unique individuals. We all have different tastes in everything. But this expert thought that it was his right to abuse her verbally about her work. My client took this on board, as the guy was considered to be an expert and a curator at a prestigious museum. My client stopped doing her artwork and writing and went into depression for years. As my client was recounting this story, she was crying. Her soul knew it was a lie, but she believed it. This lie affected her life so deeply. My question was, who was he to tell my client such things? They didn't really know each other well, yet he felt threatened enough to abuse her. Somewhere in my client's life, she was told that she wasn't good enough and she should stop wasting her time writing because she wouldn't get anywhere with it. So when this idiot guy told her all these lies, my client believed them because he's an expert. We had a big discussion about this. So hopefully things are changing. My 7th point is stay away from toxic people. People who put you down are abusive, controlling, narcissistic, demand more of you than you are willing to give. People who only talk about negative things or trash other people or gossip. People who are energetically draining and leave you exhausted. Cut them out of your life. Even if it's family, it is difficult, but it's necessary for your mental and spiritual and physical health and well-being. If you can't cut them out completely, at least limit the time and energy you give them. It's not easy to do, but necessary, and you will be glad you did it. And who knows, this action may make some look at their own behaviour and change. Most won't, but some will. You want supportive, upbuilding people around you. We all do. It is necessary as humans for our health and well-being. Another thing I tell my clients is, if somebody asks something of you, look into your heart before you answer them. A lot of women in particular find it hard to say no. So look into your heart, and if it's 80% yes and 20% no, that is still a no. You'll end up doing it at first happily, and then you'll get resentful, and then you'll get bitchy or snotty about it. And it's like you're not doing it with a loving energy, because you really don't want to be doing it anymore, and you're not helping them to learn how to stand on their own feet, do it for themselves as well. If it's 95% yes, then go ahead, do it. Because chances are that resentment that you will feel isn't going to come up. If you find it hard to say no, then say, look, I'm sorry, I'm really busy this week and next week. Can I do it the week after? And it doesn't mean that you're lying. You're just not in the right place to say yes. And you need to honour that. And they need to honour that. But you watch how quickly they either do it themselves or get someone else to do it. The world's not going to fall down if you say no. The sky's not going to fall if you say no. Nobody's going to die if you say no. Or you say, I can't do it this week, or next week I'll do it the week after. Another really, really important point on the process of healing, on the healing journey, is gratitude. Be grateful for everything. I know that's really, really hard when you're not well and when you're depressed and you have anxiety. It doesn't have to start big. It doesn't have to start with everything, you know. But gratitude changes how we look at things, our situation in life. Gratitude changes our brain waves and our DNA. By the way, our DNA isn't just what we inherit. Studies show that DNA is mostly affected by what we take in environmentally. That includes the air we breathe, food we eat, type of water or fluids we drink, lifestyle, what we read, think, watch, inject into our bodies, the type of people we have around us, etc., etc. So like I said, being grateful for everything while you're depressed is very hard, and when you really can't find any joy in your life. How do you start to find anything to be grateful for when you're in that situation? I started small. I went outside and I said, I'm grateful for the sunshine. And even when I looked within myself and found that I didn't feel grateful, you kind of fake it till you make it. And each day I looked for something to be grateful for. Before I knew it, I was starting to feel that gratitude. Probably took, I think it was less than a week. Again, my memory's hazy around that time because I couldn't retain anything. But I'm pretty sure it was less than a week. And each day, oh, I'm grateful for the sunshine. Oh, that's a pretty bird. I'm grateful it visited, or something. I didn't keep a list. I don't keep lists. Lists end up driving me mad, but some people love lists. So I just, in my mind, I love the sunshine. I just found one thing to be grateful for. And then once I got the hang of that and I started feeling gratitude, I started looking for two things to be grateful for. Oh, that's a really pretty flower. I'm grateful it's blooming in my garden. Or I'm grateful my dog is playing so happily. It doesn't have to be anything momentous or significant. Just the fact that you're experiencing something and you're feeling it makes a huge difference. Before I knew it, my list got longer and longer. So I get to a point where I just look at everything. Oh, grateful for the trees. I'm grateful for the rain. I'm grateful, and we need rain often in Australia. I'm grateful for the sunshine. I'm grateful for the flowers. I'm grateful that the grass is finally growing. I'm grateful for the friendships I have. I'm grateful I can live this amazing life that I'm living. It goes on and on and on. Like I said, I don't keep lists. I don't write them down. It's just what I feel in the moment. And to me, that's important when you haven't felt anything for a period of time. I just make a new list every day in my head or out loud. Out loud helps you with the process of learning to feel and learning to feel that gratitude, learning to live again. Another point is self-love. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Learn self-love. I cannot stress that enough. I highly recommend Maya Boston's videos. They address every aspect of your life and how self-love affects and reflects various areas in your life. Even if the topic doesn't resonate, I still ask that you continue through watching it and the meditation that goes with it, because it will slightly shift something that you probably aren't aware of, and it'll help the other elements that you are aware of to actually move forward and have a greater effect. Self-love isn't just about boundaries, though they have a massive impact on your life. Self-love is about honouring yourself, saying no, bringing in abundance. That's a self-love issue. Do you think you are worthy? Do you feel you deserve abundance? Another point with healing is, this is the last point, is analyze your belief systems. Your belief systems and your spirituality may not be right for you anymore. The first belief systems that need to go are the lies that you were told about not being good enough or worthy enough or smart enough or pretty enough or good looking enough or talented enough or anything not enough, right? Let go, because you are amazing. I don't care who you are or what you've done in your life. You are enough and you deserve everything that is good in life, everything that you could ever want or dream of, and better. Yeah? Our vision is often very limited. And when we ask for something from God or the universe, angels, whoever we're talking to on our team, then, and they don't give it to you, and you think, oh, why aren't they giving it to me? Why haven't I got this? It's usually because you've got to shift something, right? So that's the first point. You've got to shift something, let go of something, so you've got room to make space for what you're asking for to come in. And also because what you're asking for might not be in your best interests, and what they send you is usually better than you could ever imagine. Look at your spirituality. Do your spiritual beliefs still serve you? Do you still believe the same as you did before, or has some of that changed a little bit? Do you find that some beliefs need to be discarded and new ones need to be brought in or adopted? Yeah. I was raised in a super religious household, very strict. And as I developed my own spirituality away from religion, I was still hanging on to some of those religious beliefs. More of a, oh, this can't hurt if I hang on to this, or this is what I was raised with and maybe I should hang on to that just in case. But the more I learned and the more I grew and the more I trusted my own intuition and trusted my own visions that I've been receiving, and hearing spirit talk to me, hearing my soul talk to me, I realized those belief systems don't fit me. I've outgrown them. And if I want to keep moving forward and being the best version of myself, I need to let go of those. And so you might have to think about that too, especially ones that have been, especially if you need to make way for new ones that you've adopted or brought in. If you still believe in the same belief systems that you have always had, and that's okay too, ask yourself, do they feel stagnant or stuck? This just means it needs to be brought into the new energies. And I bet that you'll still find that you need to let go of some of those beliefs. It's kind of just tweaking them, yeah? I have done a lot of spiritual work, and it's been part of my studies, plus I've done outside spiritual work. And we're all stuck on the 7 chakras. We're not discarding them, but we are going to bring them in to the new energies with the 12 chakra system, and then allow them to expand. Because the 12th chakra system is just an activation, it is not the be-all and end-all. It goes on from there. At the moment, I'm working with 18 chakras. I have a 19th one that's just about ready to open. And they don't open in sequence, believe me. They open when you are ready to deal with it. So my journey started with self-love. I started from scratch. I pretended I knew nothing spiritually at all. I started with self-love. And then Maya introduced me to the 12 chakra system, which I then have been getting more information about these last few months that I can share with you. Then I started to look at multidimensionality. And that at that point, with the diets and the herbs, I use tinctures, by the way, rather than the individual herbs. It is much cheaper and it's concentrated. So the tinctures, the diets, moving the chakra system into the new energies, self-love, multidimensionality, that at that point my healing journey accelerated exponentially. So I'm going to do a 4-part series which includes the 12 chakra activation meditation, which will be in video 4. This series I'm doing is energies, frequencies, chakras, and everything to do with the human body, how it works energetically, spiritually, in the different ways, and the 12 chakra activation and how that can expand you energetically and beyond. So thank you for joining me today and for taking the time to listen. If there are any topics you'd like to see a video about, please don't hesitate to contact me at simonesoulwings@gmail.com or PM me on my Simone Soulwings Facebook page. I'd be happy to hear from you. If there's any questions about this, I'm happy to answer them. This information I'm giving free because I received it for free, and we all need to start our journeys properly and from scratch and do better this time, really. That's the best way I can describe it. Be the best you can be. Be the new you. Thank you once again. I'm honoured that you joined me, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.